It's a lovely good morning and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show. I'm Patrick Soko. As usual, I'm with Shalon Kalimbola, and together we'll be with you up to the hour of 9 as we take you on various issues. As this segment of the Breakfast Show focuses on governance and policy and politics, and today talking about politics, it will dominate our discussion. We have a question for you that you'll be responding to, and we'll be getting your views from you, our dear viewers. And just now, Madam Kalimbola, how are you?
Good morning, thanks. A very welcome to you, our viewers. And
sounds weird when I say Madam Kalimbola, isn't it?
Yes, it does.
You are.
It does sound very weird, but nowadays a lot of people are calling me that. I think age is catching up with me, Patrick.
Well, Madam.
According to exactly, Alex left me with that case of people calling me Madam, but. I think age is catching up with me, really. I don't have my 4 eyes.
You have 2 eyes. I was about to say that.
I'm 2 eyed today.
But how are you coping?
Exactly, that's a very good question.
And what happened?
How am I coping?
What happened?
Let me just say I need a replacement for those 2 eyes, unless otherwise a lot of people will see me like this, and it's, yeah.
Yeah, for now, I can only feel for
I may be able to, I may not be able to actually see most of the people.
But are you able to see me?
Yes, I can. Blairedly, though. Ulina Mashawa.
Yeah, interesting.
Anyways, a very good morning to you, our viewers. Thank you so much for choosing Camnet TV. For now, though, let's go straight into the health corner. When we come back, we continue with this morning's discussion, which is scrolling on your screens. You can call us to send us those text messages, even WhatsApp. Patrick, I think we are on WhatsApp now.
Yes.
They can send us those text messages. You know, we want to make life easier for you and us to interact, and therefore you can send us those voice notes as well, so that you can explain your things, because sometimes typing takes a bit of time, and people may not understand what you want to communicate. So you can send us the voice notes as well. We will be able to play them here on TV and have your views heard. Let's look at the health corner on what the doctors have brought for us from the Medical Women Association of Zambia.
Good morning. Welcome to Camnet TV. My name is Dr. Asambang. I'm from the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. For the past few days, we've been discussing about hepatitis B. May I add that care is available for hepatitis B patients, and it is available at the University Teaching Hospital, Kanyama, as well as Matero. It is also available for anyone who would like to be educated more about what it is, how it is acquired, what is the treatment. May I mention that there is acute or chronic HBV. Acute simply means that someone may present with a raised ALT, but have a viral load that's less than 2,000 for less than 6 months. And then they may also present with yellowing of their eyes, yellowing of their palms. Then after about a couple of months, less than 6 months though, those symptoms may disappear. That's what we would call acute hepatitis B. Now, when it comes to chronic hepatitis B, that is when it is long-standing, and someone may have it for 10 years and 20 years and feel absolutely normal. Remember, hepatitis B is unique. It is treated on a case-by-case basis. One size does not fit all. And each person is treated based on what we find. Our goal is to ensure that hepatitis B does not develop into liver cancer. Many people have died because they did not receive treatment when they were diagnosed with hepatitis B. Others have been diagnosed with it, yet it is unknown what they should do and how they should proceed. I encourage you to access any of the facilities that I mentioned. Consult your doctor. And also, teledoctor is available if you do feel the need to reach out and to ask questions. I am available on that platform for more questions regarding hepatitis B. Please note that when you receive this diagnosis, it is life-altering. However, it is not the end of your life. There is hope. Treatment is available. Though there may not be a cure, it does not mean that you cannot thrive and have a fulfilling life. And so once again, access our healthcare facilities. If you or your family member or anyone else that you know who requires hepatitis B care, we are always here for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, I'm Dr. Asamban from the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Thank you for tuning in to Camnet TV. Good day.
Patrick, no.
You are still in shock. I know what Mr. Malundu was on, that Mr. Malundu was on you. But while you are still getting over your shock, let me just to summarize. Our doctor was talking about hepatitis B. That's quite a subject that is rarely talked about. And she was explaining to us and how you can access treatment. Dr. Asambang there. It's quite an interesting subject, and we just hope you manage to get one or two things and how you can go about it in case you're affected. If you missed it, you can still catch up on our Facebook page by just going back and preview our program on the breakfast show. And just now we're going to look at the money market so that we understand how the Kwacha is failing against other major convertibles. So the US dollar is buying at 15 kwacha 41 ngwe and selling at 15 kwacha 72 ngwe. The euro is buying at 15 kwacha 46 ngwe and selling at 15 kwacha 77 ngwe. And the great British pound is buying at 17 kwacha 82 ngwe and selling at 18 kwacha 17 ngwe. And the South African rand is buying at 89 ngwe and selling at 91 ngwe. So those higher money market, and we are seeing that the Kwacha is still performing within the range of 15. Shalom there, you see.
Indeed, Patrick, it's been faring against major convertibles within this range, and it's been very stable, I must say, and we surely hope that the prices of goods and services will still remain reduced. But I think I read one of the stakeholders in this country. I think he's not actually a political figure. Bishop Joseph Kajila, you know him, huh?
Yes.
He's one of the board members for some parastatal, I think. He posted something on his wall to say the prices of goods and services were reduced the past week, but this week they're back to normal. So he was wondering exactly what was happening when the Kwacha is still faring against the same trading rates, as of last week. I think it's only reduced or increased by 0 point something, So the price effect of commodities really would not be affected by that. But then he was wondering to say what exactly happened. Patrick, you were the one that covered the story where you went to check one of the stores here in Lusaka, which had reduced prices dramatically, and the customers were very happy to say they have increased their purchasing power. They're able to fill up a trolley when they couldn't in 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, due to the increased prices of commodities because of the Kwacha faring against the dollar, especially because that's what we use to measure as a yardstick. What would be the reason for all this to be happening, like to go back to the old prices? Could it be that it was just cosmetic?
That's a good question you asked there. For me, I think it may just have been a cosmetic approach by these chain stores. And
trying to impress who?
The
government?
The government, and just to create an impression that they are responsive to government policies. But in actual sense, they are not. So what we need to do, I think, is to go back and redo the story and just find out the prices they claim that reduced. At what are they still at the reduced price, or they increased immediately we left the store? All those are questions we need to do, because equally we have a mandate to just ensure that we explain to the people and follow up these issues on behalf of the people, to ensure that policies are followed up accordingly. Because, like I said, even the same story that I did in Zambia, the tradition has been that when prices go up, they don't come down.
They don't come down.
But life is about what goes up must come down.
Exactly.
But when it comes to prices, we see an upward trajectory, which is not good for the economy. Even as the government tries to work on modalities, it is an important aspect in that even the bus fare, Sharon, you are aware that rates are reduced by 1 kwacha,
exactly,
following the reduction in fuel pump price by
about 1
kwacha 15
Have they reduced?
But they have not reduced with that 1 kwacha, because before the reduction, us who get on buses to come to Kablonga, we were paying 15 kwacha.
Just still paying 15 kwacha.
We should have been paying 14 kwacha.
Exactly.
But at the moment we are paying 15 kwacha. So that tells me to say we have really strong or weak institutions that do not help out in terms of when it comes to enforcement. So, for example, for me, I expect a consumer body, when you talk about the Commuter Rights Association of Zambia, I expect a seriousness in that they should have agents at all the bus stations. So the agent should say, but why are you overcharging us?
Why haven't you affected the
sometimes, Sharon, you cannot be the only one, you as a commuter, saying that. But if it is coming from an association,
it makes sense.
People will know to say, there's an association that is speaking for us. And that same commuter association, I also want to tell you that it has been operating in an old-fashioned model, and it hasn't been able to adjust, because for me, I think they're not doing what they're supposed to do.
They're doing a disservice.
Yes, a disservice, because I think they think their role just ends at attending to meetings at RATSA and participating to say the prices of the bus fares should be at this. But I think their role is more than that. They need to also come up with a lot of interventions, and if they don't have funding, for me, if they are an organized,
viable organization,
us as commuters will fund them, because they are speaking. They will speak for us. It's about correcting funding, Sharon, whereby, for example, if we say as commuters we are going to contribute to this association, 2 kwacha, how many are we in this country? We have many commuters than people who own these vehicles.
Exactly.
So if we can manage to fund this institution to have a voice, but it goes down to the aspect of viability. How viable are you? So that people should have trust in you.
How have they said it's their institution to be accountable and transparent to the people that would want to come in and help them be viable?
Exactly.
Is the question that we need to be asking. And how willing are they to go? Because sometimes we're not willing to new trends. We're not willing to the digital world. We don't want these systems to be put in place. We don't want this simple, basic Excel programs to calculate for us, to do the math for us.
Like, for example,
we don't want that.
Like, for example, now that they're talking about being digital or creative, you give me an idea to say, for instance, if the commuters have an application, if you board a bus, Sharon, you get on the bus, and then you say, this driver is overcharging you.
You
and
get the
everything.
number
You
plate.
just take a break. You don't even argue.
You
with the
don't
conductor.
argue with him.
Just press it.
Exactly.
Tapping. At the end of the time, this association will be receiving. Oh, so we have this budget. These people are not complying. Then you are able to engage the RITSA with the evidence.
The prompt.
And
you know, because really, sometimes a lot of passengers get into confrontation with these bus drivers, and their people, their core workers on the bus. You get into a confrontation, especially before that time. You cover the stories before also, where one of our staff members was entangled into that. And you were saying, you know. So really, those are the issues. But to avoid that, I think the issue of an application is a very good move. But I think Felix Mtati would be very excited to hear this and would be there to launch it, actually. These are the things that he wants to hear about.
Innovation.
It's about innovation, yes.
If you engage institutions like Bongo Hive, or they would be able to, they would enable you to develop such an application. But you know, I'm talking about the way we are operating. We don't want to adjust. We don't have to be rigid to change. Life is not constant. You have to always have to adjust. So those are how the problem can be addressed. Because why we are on this issue, Sharon, is that we're talking about the fact that prices are not reducing, even if government is putting in place interventions that should benefit the consumers. But in actual sense, on the ground, consumers are not able to benefit because people are just exploiting and taking advantage of the situation because say, if Sharon does not say anything, I will continue charging her at 15 kwacha.
Exactly.
So, because some of us sometimes, because of the job we do and everything, sometimes we know that we should say that, okay, it's 14 kwacha. Sometimes we just avoid confrontations. Then again, if you say it, you're just alone. Others just be watching you. As if they're not affected. But when they are affected, but they just can't express themselves. So that's the problem. You see, you started arguing over one kwacha. But
I think at one point I got in a bus. I think I've told you this before, this story, where I was at a kids going to Central Park. It's a very short distance, Patrick, but I didn't want to walk, so I decided to jump on a bus so that it takes me there. And then I was like, Nina 5 kwacha. My sister perfume you say mupemba 5 kwacha but you know. So really put yourself in that jacket. You start arguing with the conductor. Okay, 1 kwacha with 2 kwacha. Okay, let me just.
But I also know when I'm saying that, I'm also helping out someone who may not afford to manage that because. So when we're talking about these issues, they are cross-cutting, Sharon. So I'm not only affected, but others are affected. My relatives may be affected. My friends are affected. So we have to speak out against this. But this is where we are when it comes to prices, Sharon. And this comes on the backdrop that people's wages have been stagnant for a while. In that the buying power of many citizens has been going down because it has been constant amidst the rising cost of living. So that has created also another problem that we need to address. If, for instance, sometimes people wind up say, okay, how is the situation in South Africa? But if you look at how civil servants, for instance, in South Africa are paid, you can't compare them to here, even if they may be, you may think that the prices are in the same range with Zambia, but they will tell you to say they have enough to dispose compared to ourselves. So those are discussions that the labor movement has to be also putting forth with the government to ensure that these issues are addressed. And we understand that with the IMF bailout package, the Minister of Finance was also categorical through the Permanent Secretary Mukoli Chikuba, who explained that there won't be wage freeze as well as employment freeze when it comes to that aspect,
some of the conditions.
Those are in the past, those are issues we were treated to. For example, under the Patriotic Front, we equally witnessed a very huge wage freeze as well as
a long wage freeze.
A long wage one. And under this administration, we were told that there won't be such issues. I think that was during one of the meeting with journalists when the PS was actually explaining that aspect. Just now, Sharon, what are some of the stories that we are zooming in?
Indeed, Patrick, one of the stories that we are zooming in this morning, the Democratic Party National Election Committee member Justin Nkonga says Zambia may continue spending huge amounts of money for the reprinting of ballot papers if lacunas in the 2016 Constitution had not amended to make the law easier to interpret. Reacting to the resignation of an independent candidate in Kabushi constituency on Monday and in Kwacha constituency on Tuesday on whether these will require fresh nominations for the by-elections which were set for 15 September 2022, Mr. Nkonge says this is highly controversial as Article 52(6) says this should be done in the case of a general election and not a by-election, leaving room for confusion. Meanwhile, in a phone interview, constitutional lawyer John Sangwa has urged aggrieved parties to take the matter to court for final interpretation. Of course, Patrick Miriam Kaimba was at court and brought us one of the stories. Just go through it so that we can play the stories back to back. It's not...
Yeah, the Lusaka High Court has granted the application filed by former Kabushi Member of Parliament Bowman Lusambo and his counterpart, former Kwacha constituency Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji, to stay the by-election in the two respective constituencies pending the determination of their petition. This is in a case where Mr. Malanji and Lusambo had petitions the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, and the Attorney General seeking an order that the ECZ holds fresh nominations. Indeed. So we get to listen to these two stories. We'll be back on the other side as we take in your phone call, your calls, as well as your text messages and your WhatsApp voice notes. Keep it on Camnet.
With the by-elections in Kwacha and Kabushi constituencies set for 15 September 2022 drawing near, resignations of independent members of parliament from the race have brought a lot of debate on whether the elections will go on. An independent candidate, Alfred Yombe, announced his resignation from the Kabushi by-elections on Monday, citing vote buying, while another independent candidate on Tuesday, Lawrence Kasonde, has announced his resignation from the Kwacha by-elections, citing, among other things, restrictions in campaigns due to what he terms as the presence of the head of state and the Republican vice president in the area. Reacting to the development, Democratic Party DP National Election Committee member Justin Nkonge says the law should be made simple, failure to which the country will continue losing money to reprinting of ballot papers. He adds that the law is not clear on whether fresh nominations only apply to general elections or by-elections as well.
There should be fresh clauses that should be put. The whole of Article 72 must be overhauled. It should be able to provide a circumstance where there is a nullification of an election and then a person should be able to vacate office. Today, if you asked me when was a vacancy created in Kabushi or Kwacha, you will not even know when it was created, because Article 72 does not provide for the creation of a vacancy as a result of a nullification of an election. So the whole situation is a constitutional crisis. I can safely say we are in a constitutional crisis that has been brought about by these articles, especially Article 52, sub-Article 72.
In a separate interview, Operation Young Vote Executive Director Gesh Nyarenda says Article 52, sub-Article 6 is confusing as it talks about resigning from a political party and not an independent candidate.
If you read Section 31, 1 and 2 of the Electoral Process Act, it is very clear. However, we are confusing ourselves as citizens because the Constitution does not in any way provide for an independent candidate. Even for a candidate sponsored by a political party, you will need to resign from your political party. The aspect of resignation that is provided in Article 52(6) is one to resign from their political party that is sponsoring them. I mean, if it's an independent candidate, where do they resign from?
The duo say this calls for urgent constitutional reforms that will stand the test of time and the personal interest of individuals. Meanwhile, in a phone interview, constitutional lawyer John Sangwa State Counsel says the matter should be taken to court for a clear reading.
That issue, you have to go to court, because there are two scenarios. The point, if you look at the law, I think what they had in mind is a situation where a candidate that withdraws is sponsored by a political party.
The two seats formerly held by Bowman Lusambo for Kabushi and Joseph Malanji for Kwacha were recently nullified on the basis of anomalies. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The by-elections scheduled to take place on the 15th of September 2022 in Kwacha and Kabushi constituency have been suspended by the Lusaka High Court. The High Court this afternoon, Tuesday, granted former Kabushi Member of Parliament Bowman Lusambo and his counterpart, former Kwacha Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji, their application to suspend all activities relating to the by-elections in the said two respective constituencies pending determination of their matter. Among other reliefs that they are seeking before court, the two former members of parliament made an application to stay the activities relating to the by-elections in the two constituencies pending determination of their matter, which the court has granted this afternoon. In an affidavit which they had filed before court, the duo claimed that they would suffer prejudice unless the parliamentary polls are suspended following the decision by the Electoral Commission of Zambia to reject their nomination papers on the 25th of August 2022.
We've agreed to proceed with the matter, and they have raised an issue which will be determined on Thursday. Then Friday we are coming to have the main matter heard, in which case we expect that by next week there should be a final judgment. But for now, there are no elections in Kabushi, no elections in Kwacha until the court determines. That is the rule of law.
In their petition, Mr. Malanje and Lusambo are seeking an order that the Electoral Commission of Zambia hold fresh nominations for Kwacha and Kabushi constituency so that they can be allowed to file their nomination papers.
Court has also said they will hear the main petition on Friday. Now, just when we were about to come out of court, Solicitor General produced some documents saying that they have made an application for constitutional reference. They want the matter to go back to the Concord. So anyway, the court has said we will not throw it out, we will hear you on Thursday. What we know is that the Concord has already said the power to deal with members of parliament and their nominations is with the High Court. They can only deal with the presidential candidates. So now telling us to say they want us to go back to the Constitutional Court, we won't comment, but we'll allow you to judge for yourselves who is wasting whose time.
Meanwhile, Opposition Patriotic Front Acting President Given Lwinda had this to say.
Hagainde, yesterday I said to you that Jagule Menaji Budu. I want to assure you, Hagainde, that you are not the only one. There are many other Zambians who are capable of handling the busy business of state craftsman. There are many other Zambians who can handle that office better than you are doing. If the business has become too heavy for you, that now you must be chasing after small Malanji, you must be chasing after small Lusambo using state resources, and yet they were not even on the ballot paper, you go and campaign against them. Huh? How could you possibly do that? Praise be to God Almighty for this victory. Now, I want to say,
And former Kwacha Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji says,
rather than thanking the court for giving us this intellectual stay, Zambia is democratic. The Zambian democracy is constitutional-led. We have a constitutional-led democracy, and I don't want to say something that will actually have me cited for contempt, since my learned counsel has already said.
Until their petition is determined by the High Court, by-elections in both constituencies will have to wait. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Well, there you have it. Quite an elaborate story by Miriam Kaimba there, our court reporter, and talking about the Kabushi and Kwacha by-elections. This has been topical in the country, and just yesterday we heard that the elections cannot go on until all the petitions are heard, and that was according to the judge, to the High Court's verdict. And these issues continue pertaining to the two by-elections, Sharon. And also the other election maybe has to go on. That's the one on the council chairperson.
Yes, indeed, it will go on. But then the cost implications of having a bad constitution is costing the country.
Yes, you can imagine.
Sums of money.
So they'll print
the ballot papers have been printed, because elections are supposed to be tomorrow. So obviously the ballot papers are even in the country, and they already in the country.
I think no, unless we are
They were told to
unless we
hold
are
on.
dealing with the ECZ that is not organized, but the ECZ that I know that is organized,
It's supposed
usually
to
they
call
tell us
the ballot
stakeholders.
papers are being delivered, arriving in the country. Ballot papers need to go and get verified. Those are the processes.
So
Patrick.
maybe I don't know, but maybe they worked with the press on the Copper Belt, where probably the ballot papers were going direct into Copper Belt. Then the media in that locality probably was informed, but I may have missed that, but I don't know.
We haven't seen that.
But my hope, my biggest prayer, Sharon, is that
they told
they were not,
the printing company to hold on.
Then they just authorized the printing of the other one, which probably will go ahead as scheduled on the 15th tomorrow.
I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, and I hope you'll be covering that. Now let's also look at
with my two eyes. But anyways,
look at this issue, Sharon. We are looking at the halting of the by-elections. What are some of the cost implications, especially that you see? For instance, the president was on the Copper Belt, went in to drum up support for the UPND candidates, the vice president, the other candidates like the leadership movement and the UPPZ. We are also on the Copper Belt, drumming up support. You know, campaigning is not an easy undertaking.
No, it's not.
You need to make sure that you organize the flyers. You organize the materials, the chitenge materials, because as you and I are already aware that in an election you are not allowed to give money in terms of cash, but you are rather allowed to make sure that you provide materials, campaign materials,
exactly,
like flyers, like chitenges, and t-shirts, and everything.
The people, what do you call them? Advance party?
Advance party?
Yes, exactly. All those cost implications are involved. It doesn't matter whether you're in the ruling party or in the opposition party. People were coming from Lusaka to go and camp in those various localities where elections are being held, and therefore to ask them to retreat simply because there's no election for now until further notice is actually a cost implication on the people that are taking part in the election.
Yes.
Secondly, Patrick, if at all these people are advised to file in their nomination papers for the second time, meaning they will have to pay for the nomination fees once again, which is a cost implication on them. You know, just wanting to seek public office should not be this costly undertaking. So really, I think ECZ needs to somehow up its game and ensure that things are done correctly and the way they should. They may amend their electoral code and see if at all they can put in some of these provisions that can surround better holding of elections. Or the Constitution, really, can we start the amendment process to ensure that things are done clearly, you know, put up clearly, things are understood. Patrick is wearing a maroon jacket, which I'm not supposed to dispute and say it's orange and stuff. It needs to be clear.
Yes, maroon is maroon.
Maroon is maroon, which women now call burgundy. At burgundy. You know, that is that in maroon where there's. But this is what we are talking about this morning. You too can call us. Our caller from Livingston, we are waiting to hear from you.
Exactly, so that we can pick it from where you left.
You know, it's like we are Kabushi and Kwacha and can you present us?
Yeah, because
but anyways,
because Sharon ati ingakwa fensho fu
nearly actually bapodi and so
my Bemba is okay.
It's getting there. It's getting there. I might just get you a dictionary for both English and Bemba so that you can get to know and speak properly. But then pronunciation is very hard for you. You fail. You
but
speak
like I said,
oh my goodness. Let's end it.
So yesterday, the elephant in the room is the issue of
Kwacha.
You know, Kwacha and Kabushi. These are quite strategic seats, Sharon, on the Copper Belt. We understand that this has been a stronghold for the Opposition Patriotic Front.
Why have we wasted so much time? Let's pick the score and talk to our viewer. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Morning, Mawumasha.
I'm Mawumasha. Mulete mina kwisa. Utuma tuwaba kwa ishina veni mkonka nyepo mkwae.
abantu wanjye bari kurumanya y'abantu bari ku commission bari kumbe kuya kureba batete wingalinga na mabwe commission bari kurumanya y'abantu n'umuntu kujya kwa baboja abantu bari kandi uwo wese abantu bari n'amati Quando tomamos ngore na choba para avanzar como Kwacha, a forma na hora como Kabushi. Não pode ser que não fiz. Não chama Kwacha.
Katotela Mkwai, Ndole representing there, obviously from the Commonwealth and the two by-elections actually at the call of his heart, and he says, if at all the Election Commission of Zambia has failed to hold a credible election and interpret the law the way it should, even other legal practitioners have failed to make us understand as a people what direction we have to take, give them back their seats. Is there such a thing, Patrick? Is there such a thing?
No, but that's just a pedestrian suggestion. Yeah, it's just.
But honestly,
it does not work. People are also entitled to representation.
Exactly.
So the people want to elect their leaders so that they can be represented.
They
in
feel
the House.
there's something about voting, Patrick, and putting somebody into office. You just feel the sense of belonging. The same way when you work hard for something, you feel proud at the end of the day when it's a success,
Yes.
So equally, people have got preferred candidates that they would want to represent them in Parliament, in the National Assembly. So you just don't go about anybody and anyone else. So really, allow the free flow of people voting for the candidates they want, so that they should be able to hold these leaders accountable. Because we've seen countries where they didn't vote for this person and they will just go away and they will not say anything towards that person. They will not criticize. They will just be quiet. But is that the country that we want? No.
Let's pick that call.
This other call as well.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Fine,
Fine,
thank you.
how are you?
Yeah, this is Mr. Puma calling you from Livingston.
All right.
Thank you for calling.
Yes, sir. First of all, this is what we knew, that the malice and the hate will never win in this land of the living. Look at what has happened in Kenya. Ruto now is the person. Even you, that I always tell you that use wisdom. Where have you seen a man who was deputized by a friend? Then when it comes to election, he says, me, I don't want you. I'm going to choose an opposition leader. That is malice, and it does not work. So I call this season the season of demolishing malice and hate. So the courts have also gone into the same syndrome of demolishing malice and hate. And it is love. People are interpreting law here and there, which is wrong. Honorable John Sangwa has put it plainly that the only people that can interpret the law are the courts. Simple. Me, I'm not a lawyer. All these others, the directors of district what, they are not lawyers. These are the people that are bringing confusion. If the people are agreed over the confusion, let them go to the courts. The courts are going to interpret the law. Simple as all that. Why we are saying we are confusing ourselves is when we are saying the constitution has got lacuna. It's because it is the us who don't know how to interpret the law. We put ourselves to interpret the law. That is the problem. Finally, we thank God that the elections in Kabushi and Kwacha have been cancelled. Yes, hands. It's the problem with invisible hands. It's better for competent lawyers.
How do invisible hands look like?
The competence of lawyers. So invisible hands are fallen. And it's going to fall again. And we're going to see Malanji and Honorable Sambo becoming MP. Simple. God bless you.
Before you go, how do invisible hands look like?
The invisible hands. The invisible hands. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yeah, we are getting.
We wanted to know the color of invisible hands. Really. He talks about them a lot every time he calls. He talks about the invisible hands. So we wanted to know the color of these invisible hands. You too can call us and have a say.
Yeah, because he was using wisdom, Sharon. You told that he was using wisdom. So he was using wisdom of the invisible hands. So I hope, did you go to his
He
wisdom?
remained invisible on that question. But anyways, like we always say, this is your show. You can also call us and give us those contributions. The topic of discussion this morning is scrolling on your screens. Let's talk about it. Let's ensure that we have better space to live in, and we only have one Zambia. He gave an example of the Kenyan election, and yesterday there was an inauguration ceremony for William Ruto, the hustler. I like to say that. The businessman also. So yesterday he was inaugurated officially as the president of Kenya, taking over from Uhuru Kenyatta Noto.
Yes.
Of course. And the petition, he was petitioned, actually, his win was petitioned by his closest contender, Raila Odinga, of which the petition was thrown out and said, this person is duly elected, and that's how the inauguration went on to take place. He gave an example of that. I'm not sure if at all you understand our viewers, but still, if you do or not, call us and have a conversation with us.
Yeah, when you talk about the constitution, I think we created this problem for ourselves. If you look at the Kenya constitution, I think it was better done, even the approach.
Yeah.
But we also attempted to tamper with some clauses, but because our constitution is similar to that of South Africa and Kenya, I'll get back to those.
We ended up getting more confused.
Yeah,
let's pick this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
How are you?
No. Yes, I'm Lusaka resident. Good morning to you, madam.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
I'm fine, and you?
Tell us your name.
I'm Lusaka resident. I'm worried. He was very worried.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Lusaka resident.
He wants to be a Lusaka resident.
Oh, perfect.
I'm worried about what is happening, what is going on in our country. We're worried.
Go ahead.
What's going on in our country?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Our current situation was saying that what was true, what the previous